All right, on today's live stream, I'm going to be talking about our newest feature, which is the Art Marketing Hub, and talking about some sort of the evolution in thinking it represents, okay, to get to the point that we are now. And I think it's a really, really interesting evolution in thinking because I think, you know, whether you ever decide to become a customer with Art Storefronts or not, you at least get to see what it is that we are valuing to put our time, energy, and effort in as we're continuing to try to get to the point where our artists and photographers are more and more efficient and effective at their marketing, right? And early on in our journey as a business, we sort of started out with just a website, right? Like we had the best art selling website that there is. Hooray, right? We're gonna have huge business. No. Then we learned artists and photographers don't just need a website, they need to have one, but they don't just need a website, they need to learn how to drive people to it, how to drive eyeballs to their content. So then as a business, we started making phenomenal marketing education, how to run a sale, how to price your art, how to run a live art show, how to run Facebook and Instagram ads. Don't ever boost post ever. We had all of this education, right? And that was great, but it helped some of our customers, but it wasn't enough. Then we switched over to a calendar that told our customers what to do 365 days a year. Like, hey, Mother's Day is coming up. Here's when you're going to tease the sale. Here's the Facebook and Instagram post that you're going to post at the same time so that it all dovetails. And here's where you're going to end the sale and everything. And it's all on a calendar. And that was great. But ultimately, and then we launched workshops, right? Which are, we now have internally 9 Zoom sessions a week just teaching our customers to marketing, just teaching our customers how to market, getting unstuck and solving the tech issues and all of that. And that's awesome, right? But ultimately, we kept hitting up against the elephant in the room, which is even if you bring the horse to water, you can't make him drink, which means even if you have all these great resources, because artists and photographers are so busy, because artists and photographers don't love marketing natively, it was still really hard to get our customers to market consistently. And when you do this for a job, i.e. me, you realize that consistency is the entire ballgame. Never missing days, okay? Never missing holidays, constantly capturing the email addresses, not taking vacations and breaks, and when life issues pop up. And it's so hard to do as an individual artist or photographer because all of those things happen and you need all of those things. You need to be able to take care of your family. You need to go on vacation. You're going to get burned out. All of these things are going to happen, right? So probably about a year ago now, we created this thing called Copilot. And what Copilot does is we integrate with your email. We integrate with your Facebook account. We integrate with your Instagram account. And we essentially do a ton of posting and a ton of emailing for our customers. Now, the easiest way to think about what Copilot is if somebody walked into an art gallery, your art gallery, you would want someone to greet that person, explain to them what you do, show them off some of your pieces, tell them about your background. Like that's what Copilot does, right? Copilot doesn't make reels for you and it doesn't make selfie videos for you and do a bunch of stuff. And so that was a huge boost. But what's cool is that we've now upped it to the next level and we're releasing this thing called Art Marketing Hub, okay? And I don't have any fancy graphics or a full demo to show you today, but those will be coming shortly. But we launched this thing today, or soft launched this thing today, I should say. And essentially what it represents is one area where you can upload all of your media, okay? All of your images are there. All of your video assets are there. All your photographic assets are there. And you can instantaneously put them onto social media posts, schedule it, put them onto emails, run your sales, set up the hello bar on your site, and do all of this from a scheduled standpoint. And all of it comes down to how can we empower you guys to be more consistent? And it is such a hard problem to solve, but we think Hub represents that next iteration in thinking. Like our job is to make it as easy as possible for you guys to market consistently. I know that, the world that we live in today with you guys trying to sell your creations, it's not a meritocracy on the creations. Not at first. It's a meritocracy on whether or not the creations get seen by anybody. And that is the number one struggle that everyone has. And you guys can absolutely do this, okay? Artists and photographers, despite the fact that they don't love marketing, especially to start out, they don't like self-promotion, they don't understand it, they're not social media native. generally speaking, you guys can be trained and be taught to be like extremely good marketers. And the creativity that you have for the things that you create totally translates into those updates and can be taught to be really, really good at social media marketing. So our job is just to make it as easy as possible for you guys to figure out how to do that, and as easy as possible, such that you don't ever miss these holidays that come up, that you don't ever miss promotional opportunities, that you don't ever come off the gas between the regular and consistent marketing. Because for the last 3 years, since whenever COVID started, 2020, so now 4 years, I've been talking to hundreds of artists and photographers a week, every week, week in, week out, and people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, and sometimes even their 90s. And the number one thing in today's day and age, and probably for the last 30 years, that has prevented artists and photographers from being successful is consistency in their marketing. That's it. That's literally all it is. That is what separates the successful ones from the non-successful ones. And it is oftentimes not the quality of the work that you produce. It's the lack of consistent promotion. That's it. That's literally it. Every single solitary one of you could potentially be a successful artist or photographer and have a business that's thriving and growing if you just stuck to the marketing consistently. So that is 100% the goal that we're trying to solve. That is what this release is all about. If you're a customer, you're going to be seeing us talk about it more and more and more. If you're not and you ever wanted to see it, you could certainly just visit our website or get a demo. We're going to be talking about it a ton on here. But with the time I have left, happy to open it up for any questions. Do you have an art, a photography, marketing, business related question? Are you struggling with pricing or branding, or niche selection, or whether or not you should offer originals or limited editions? What you're doing in mumbling today, maybe all days. Shows and theirs. Happy to answer any and all questions you have. Instagram marketing related questions. How do you do that? If you're one of the ones that's watching, you can just, to be honest with you, you can just leave a comment wherever you are. And literally, I want to answer. What are you struggling with? What is the one thing that you feel like you need help with right now? I'm going rapid fire. I'll answer all of them. Thank you, James, for that comment. I really appreciate you saying that. You know, I really, really, really want to get you guys marketing consistently. So Jody's asking, how much is your service per month? It depends on which plan you're on. We have like 3 different tiers. And I think it's like 59, 69, or 79. Don't hold me to that. It's in that range. You should get a demo to find out. But we also have like, the fee to get into the, just go and get a demo. Jody, I'm the worst at understanding what our pricing is. I'm the worst. Yeah. Rare Radical, your website, you're struggling with your website. Sadly, like, the website's not enough. Like we're taught in today's day and age that if we just create a website, if we build it, they will come, right? Like if we build it, they should come. They will come, and they don't, right? They don't. That is just not how it goes. So you have to get people. It's like, it doesn't matter. The notion that I love is like, it's the restaurant analogy, right? Like everyone thinks if you just open the restaurant, it's going to be full of people, and it's like, no, you have to get outside with a whistle and a hook and say, come on here, come on here, come on here, come on here, get in here, get in here, get in here. How does that work, right? Steve's asking, does the glow up complement this new product? It works within it, Steve. Like you need the glow up to get your social media sites up to snuff. Once they are, and then we can help you start promoting them. All right. So what else do I have? Shawank is asking, what is Hub and is it different than Copilot? It's the next iteration of Copilot. We're essentially turning Copilot into the Hub, with a bunch more bells and whistles. We've been iterating on this stuff like absolutely crazy, right? So that's what I would say. Yazzie, should the first stop on the website be the shop art or about the artist page? Shop, always the shop, directly into the shop, right? And Yazzie, when you think about it, this is such a good question because all we're trying to do, guys, is duplicate the experience of somebody walking into an art gallery. When somebody walks into an art gallery, Yazzie, what do they see? The art's on the walls everywhere. If they want to find out about the artist, there's something they can read there, or they can ask the gallerist, but it is the work right away. So that's what it should be, always. And that's really, really important to say. Okay. I love this comment. So the comment is, since I'm just starting out, I will be attending vendor fair, trying to figure out pricing. You don't have to worry about that, Inspirational Visionista, because I've already sorted that for you. I have like the most in-depth guide on pricing you've ever seen. It does not need to be difficult. Okay. It all comes down to a range. You need to have a price range from 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 plus. How do you do that? Read my guide. It's free. All you have to do is leave a comment on this live stream with the word pricing, and I will send it to you. And you'll be blown away at how easy pricing can be. All right, Ginkgo Art is saying, how can I get more people following my art page? And let's just see your art page and let's see what you're doing, because I can screen share here. So this is the hard part. It's like Grigo Art. I'm sorry. It's really, you guys, the text is really small on my end, so it's like hard to see. Grigo Cart. And I probably don't even need to look, Grigo. You're probably not posting consistently. Grigo? Is that what it is? I need someone to like type this for me. So I'm looking for accounts. I can't even find your account on Instagram. That's so weird. Why can't I do that? Did I type it right? Grigo or Grigor. I see. I missed an R. They need a better system for this. Grigor. K-A-R-T. And just bear with me, guys. I'm gonna pull this up and give him some feedback really quickly. All right. So let's take a look. Okay, I'm gonna pull it up. So, how can I end up getting more followers on my art? One, you're doing what most artists usually do, which is beautiful work, by the way, is hide behind the canvas, right? Because on this whole thing, is there maybe only one photo of you, which is this you doing your process, the first one, which is awesome. That's an awesome start. You need to do more of that, but you can't just post your art. That doesn't work. That doesn't get enough feedback. You have to give people a little window into what you do, Grigo, and you can't just post individual images. You have one reel, right? And all the rest of yours are just image posts, and none of them look like carousel posts either. So you need to mix up your posting types, okay, and not just have individual images. Like we're like, these are all originals. You could be holding these originals up. The original could be leaned against a wall or hung up on a wall if it's got hooks on it and stretched on canvas. It looks like watercolor. Is it watercolor? I can't tell. My picture is really, really small. But you need to be doing more and more of that. Like, look, there you are, and there's a good breakup of the thing. Like, get people holding your art. Have it on the wall. Do multiple different images. You have to. Instagram is all a game, right? And it's all about how you play it, right? This is a great question, you guys. So can you lower your prices for a bit for it to fit another niche, or it makes you look bad? Man, do I love this. I love this so much. And there's this notion, and we got it from Jeff Bezos, believe it or not. There's someone you want to study, right? Like, look at the size he grew Amazon to. And he has this notion of asking whether or not a decision in your business is reversible. Okay. Like, is it reversible? Meaning, if you do something and it doesn't work out, can you immediately go back to what you had before? If the answer is yes, then don't deliberate it and do it. And I found that to be like insanely valuable, right? So you can absolutely lower your prices. You can absolutely raise your prices. You can absolutely put them right back to where they were. And you can do that today. Like, you can literally do that today. Vivian Sliner, do it right now and see what difference it makes. It's totally a reversible decision, right? Yeah. So Simeon's asking, how do we get them from social media to email subscribers? There's this is going to be terrifying for you guys. Okay. But I want to say it because I think it's important. There's a guy I follow on social media. He's been like a huge marketer for a long time, huge name. He put out a report recently and he's like, in my estimation for my business is one email address is worth 1,000 followers on social media. One email address. The content, the traffic and ultimately revenue that he can drive from one email subscriber in his estimation is equal to 1,000 social media followers. That's insane, right? And who knows if it's that pronounced, but an email address is worth a ton. And so a great way to do it is by doing print giveaways. Simeon, I think you've definitely been on a couple of these before, but if you haven't, go subscribe to my podcast. Okay. Art Marketing Podcast. It's on Spotify and it's on Apple Podcasts. And if you scroll down here a little bit, okay, there is episode number 55, which is called The Loop, and episode number 56, which is called Supercharging the Loop. Okay. Number 55 and number 56. Smart artists don't run ads. Instead, they do this, introducing the loop. You need to go listen to those two, because what that does is that details you in depth tactically what you need to do to start getting folks off of social media and onto your list. And it's incredibly effective. So make sure you go check that out. Yeah, art by Elias, I think. It's really hard to see these names, you guys. It's so tiny in my little screen. The hub, yeah, the hub is like super soft launch, so it might have a bug or two for like a week or two, but other than that, it's about to be cooking with serious gas. So get ready. Yep, Tina, you just typed pricing. As long as you did, you did a typo, Tina. If you have to type pricing correctly, otherwise it wouldn't go through. Yeah, and Grigor, thank you. Okay. What is a carousel post? Great question. Let me show you guys. So, the carousel posts are actually, I don't want to say they're more important, but they're more important, right? So let me give you an example of a carousel post that we've done recently. That's not one. Is this one? This is one. So, okay, look at this, Mary. So what it allows you to do, a carousel post, is I believe up to 10 images or up to 10 videos or any combination in between of images and videos. And so on this one, you notice when you scroll, it's a different image every single solitary time. If we wanted it to, it could have been videos, right? But it's something that allows you to do some storytelling and scroll through. So, when I was looking at Grigor's account, he didn't have a single solitary one of them. And so, you have to start forcing yourself to creating them, because they are extremely effective. And, you sort of need to think, what's the analogy that I give? Like, everybody's creating all this content on Instagram all day long, right? And Instagram's like, okay, my job is to pull from this well of content and create and curate what everyone's feed looks like, right? What they have the most of in the warehouse, i.e. what people create the most, are images. There's so many images in there, it's ridiculous. And what Instagram is saying is like, okay, image, okay, I need something else, put in a video. And then it goes image, okay, I need something else, put in a video. Then it's like, okay, I've done too many images, I need a carousel. And so when you create these carousels, you stand a much better chance of getting into people's feeds. It's very, very important. Okay, very, very important. All right, Simeon, awesome. Didn't know you were a customer, but run the loop. The print giveaways are one of the most effective ways, a print giveaway, a merch giveaway, to get people off of social media and on to the email list. Very, very important. Dwayne's asking a great question, like, how many eyeballs is enough to accurately test my photos to see if they can sell or not? And the sad thing here is there's no one size fits all rule that works for everyone. Like, why I love this concept of potentially doing an in-person therapy show is that you're going to force yourself to find out in one day. Like, if you sit in a booth and it gets some decent foot traffic and you don't have a single solitary thing sell, or not even anyone make you an offer, then, that's pretty telling. But it also could be you're in the wrong part of town for what your niche is, right? So I would say, if you can do an in-person fair show, anything, do that. If you have to fake a garage sale, okay, with your art in the yard, that can be enough, right? Like, fake a garage sale, grab some of that stuff that you need to get rid of anyway. Your significant other's been yelling at you to get this stuff out. You have too much stuff. We're pack rats as humans. And then have 2 tables set up on the garage sale with your art. Say, make me an offer. And then shut up, Dwayne, and see if any of it sells. See if you get any bites. If you get bites and you get some offers and you're having some conversations, then you're going to be filled with encouragement to go and take the next step, right? To to try the next thing that can potentially work. So that's what I would say. Awesome Mosaics. There's going to be so much information internally about exactly what Hub is and how it all works. It's going to be crazy. But I think, big picture, it just represents, like, we are constantly trying to hack at how we can make you guys more effective, right? Like, constantly. And Simeon is asking, like, the hashtag thing. I feel so guilty about this too, because what do I rant about? Like, do you really need to stress about hashtags? You really don't need to stress about hashtags. And it's not that hashtags are not important. Okay. We just put out a post about the top hashtags. It's in here somewhere. I'm going to find it. I know exactly what the graphic looks like. You guys, do you see how much content we post? Do you think we do this for fun, or do you think we do this because it's effective? It's extremely effective. You guys all need to be posting more. Easier said than done, I know. Of course, I can't find this thing because we post so much. It's like buried in here somewhere. I'm going to find it. Don't worry. But anyway, what we posted recently was what I'm looking for is a guide to what hashtags you can use. And it's helpful. But look, the reality is that I would much rather have you worry about creating the content and not getting hung up on what the hashtag is. Instagram is getting better and better and better at better and better and better at understanding what your content is based on their algorithms. So we don't need to spend as much time worried about putting the hashtags in. And I might as well show you guys. I'll show you guys what's actually more important in today's day and age. And Johnny said, what is a podcast located again? Anywhere that you get podcasts, Johnny, absolutely anywhere. But it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is search for the Art Marketing Podcast. Okay. And that will come up and you'll find it. And I highly recommend listening to it. Yeah, I can show you guys what you do in addition to that. So, okay, Shannon saying, hi, new customer getting ready to launch a website. So excited. How important are story highlights and how many categories should I have? Yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, what I personally love to think, and we'll have guidelines for you internally on this, and they're not like mega important right out of the gate, but like this, you guys, this represents essentially like a way to think about story highlights. The way that I love to think about it is they should be reflective of the buttons on your website. That's essentially what they are. They're the buttons on your website, except they're interactive and they're virtual, which is super, super cool, right? So you don't need to stress yourself out. You can build them over time, right? But what I want you to do is have bestsellers, have about me, have a press section if you can, have a thing that says commissions and let people know that you're open for commissions and you're good to go. And you can do all of those in one day. Just create the stories, boom, set them up, and you can constantly be adding to these things, right? And you know, I love showing Meg's up because Meg has a great press section, right? Everybody breaks the rules on these a little bit. Like so Meg, she's got Scotland, right? Which I assume is did she just take a trip to Scotland or something? I didn't even know she did. You know, so she's showing off some fun stuff there. She's got an about me, right? Awesome. So she's telling the story of who she is, what she does, her artist statement, if you like, you know, with like a little bit of hype built in there. Bestsellers are there. Boom. Sunflowers are there. The one thing that I don't like that she does is her press section is like the very last one. I love the press section. I think it's great to have. So for me, it's better to move that up. But don't worry about the story highlights. You don't have to nail them overnight, and you can kind of like build your way up to it, right, Shannon? So that's a great way to think about it. Okay. Art by Elias is asking if they're excited to have my driveway art show. Should I keep the range under 100? No, absolutely not. You hit 0 to 100 and 100 plus and 100 to 1,000 if you can. And then the key, I think the key in like those garage driveway sales is do not let the potential customer that's shown interest leave without saying, tell you what, everything's got to go. Make me an offer. Let's just see, make me an offer. Because that is the point in time where you find out if they're interested in your art seriously or they're just being nice. And you got to find that out. You have to figure out whether or not stuff is going to sell. And it's like that's just such a critical thing that like no one understands. And you know, it's so interesting because the CEO of Art Storefronts and I actually had a company way back in the day, and it was a clothing company. Okay, and we met this guy. It's just a short story aside, but it was like it underpins this thing. Let me just tell it quickly. So back in the day, this was like, oh man, I'm getting old. Like 20 years ago almost. Things were a little bit different in LA and Los Angeles, like where the cool parts of town to actually shop were. And Melrose was still cool back then. That's sort of not the case anymore. And there was this other store called Fred Siegel that was really, really cool. And this guy taught Nick and I this, which is so awesome. We would drive up to LA because I'm from Orange County, an hour south of LA. We'd drive up to LA and we would go into like 10 of the top retail clothing stores in LA. And he would go, watch this. You guys are going to learn a valuable lesson. And he would walk up to every single solitary person working at the store and go, what's flying off the shelves? What can't you keep in stock? What are people asking for all the time? What's really moving? And we would get this perspective from all these individuals. Oh, these denim pants are crushing it right now. They're the hottest thing. This new company that just came up, everybody's asking about it. They did these new t-shirts. They have a new label. They put a hang tag in a different spot, right? And we would leave LA with this download of like, oh my gosh, these are the trends. This is what's working. This is what's crushing. This is what's not selling. Go all in on that, right? And the point is that most people would just walk into those stores, look at everything, right, and say, okay, what are they merchandising? What are in the windows? What are on the end caps? What's being promoted? Instead of like digging in and finding out what that person wants. So where am I going with that, Elias, is that when you have that driveway sale, get your art there. Okay. Don't let anyone leave. If they've shown an interest, engage in a conversation. And if they're like, okay, I like this piece, but $100 is too much, you can say yes and make me an offer. And if they're like, okay, well, I'll think about it, say, before they go, say, just what art photography, can I ask you, when's the last time you purchased art of photography? Really? Well, what was it? What part of your house did you hang it in? Are you going to buy more of it? What's the artist's name? I want to follow him, right? Ask those types of questions, because that's like the joy of you know, figuring out what your potential niche is, right? Like figuring out, does this person like my work, but it doesn't like what I do? Maybe they want a commission, and maybe I can learn something from like what's selling right now in their world, right? Yeah, it's safe to post your address in the neighborhood next to you. I think that's no problems at all. But although I'll tell you, my wife, like, you guys, I sell so much stuff on Craigslist over the years. Not like, it's not like my hobby or anything, but like 6 or 10 times a year, I'll sell something on Craigslist, and people always come over to my house, and I always give my address. And my wife is always like, "Why are you doing this? Are you crazy?" And I've sold cars, I've sold all sorts of things. So I don't worry about it. So I think it's okay. Jody Lee Studio, do big artworks sell better than small? All artworks sell. It doesn't matter about the size. Larger artworks are obviously more expensive, and larger artworks require bigger walls and bigger houses. And so larger artworks by and large target a higher demographic, but everything sells, everything in between. And, don't create one at the detriment of another, right? Like all apply. So just don't worry about that too much. Are stories getting more exposure today? They're not. Stories are at the absolute bottom of the pile, sadly. How can I got to figure out a better way I can share posts in here, because I did such a good rant on this. But I want to show this to all of you guys. And so Al's asking me this, and when we're marketing on Instagram, okay, it's important to be on all of the social networks within inside Instagram. Feed, which are image posts and carousel posts, reels, which are reels, videos, stories, which are stories, right? It's important to be in all three. Like, if you're doing your best, you are in all three every single solitary day, because essentially the way that it works is all three of them can be thought of as different rooms within inside Instagram. And some people come in to Instagram and they go to all three rooms. And some people come into Instagram and they just go to one room. And some people come into Instagram and they go to one room or the other room. Well, I want your art hanging on all three walls. I want your content on all three walls so that you can see all three of them, right? Okay. That's in a perfect world. Easy for you to say, Patrick, you have an entire marketing team doing social updates for you, so it's not you all day. Correct. I do. It's unfair. So where it gets interesting for you guys is you have to ask yourself the question, what is the highest ROI thing that I can do on Instagram right now? Okay. In my estimation, the highest ROI thing that you can do, okay, is get as much free reach as possible. And I want to show this to you guys. Okay. So if I hit this hamburger menu, this is in the upper right-hand corner of our profile. Okay. Pay close attention to this. So I press the hamburger menu. A couple menu items down is this thing called Insights. Okay. What's really, really interesting about Insights is it lets you see instantaneously what content you shared, right? The accounts reached, the accounts engaged. Okay. If I click accounts reached, which is the first one, and I scroll down, this gives me this view, okay, of by content type, what did I do on Instagram in the last 7 days? Okay. And you can see it breaks it up by all followers or non-followers. And so if I click followers, this shows me what my followers consumed. If I click non-followers, I get to see what of my content Instagram promoted to people that do not follow me. Okay. This is really, really important, because all of you guys are trying to build a bigger following. In order for that to happen, you want Instagram to go and show your content to people that are not currently following you. Okay. So what I'm showing you here is that for us, Instagram is showing our posts to a bunch of people that don't follow us, our reels to a bunch of people that don't follow us, and pretty much nothing else. The stories getting very little action. The live videos getting very little action. The videos getting very little action. That's just non-followers, right? To followers, a ton of people are seeing it. But you can also see stories is the least important. Stories is just not as important as the feed. Okay. It's not. And it's not as important as reels or carousel posts. It's just not. And that's true, right? But you know what the other interesting thing, and this is like the real kicker about all of it, is like those are the rules of Instagram that you should follow if you want to get the most reach. But guess what? All it takes is one person for your message to reach for you to get a sale. And you know what might happen? That one person might just look at stories, right? And I sit here and I show this account's reach, and I show the fact that stories are barely getting any action. But what if stories is the most valuable thing to my art business? And it's really hard to know early on. It's really hard to know what's going to get you there. So my general advice is, if you're short on time, I would probably just do posts and reels. If you've got the time, throw it up to the stories. You should have the time. It's important. Instagram's the most important platform for selling art. But remember what your goal is. Your goal is to have people purchase your art, to get on your email list, or to have a conversation with you about your art, if you're available for commissions, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the priority that you guys got to have, and what I want you focused on more so than just do I do stories, not do stories. Jody Lee's asking, can we use your service to sell other products? Yep, absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, we're just an e-commerce store. Like, yeah, we're geared for wall art. We're geared for wall art, but you can sell anything. I've got customers selling books and CDs and tours into national parks and Zoom classes and jewelry and just all sorts of stuff. There's just all kinds of stuff. So something to keep in mind. You can do all of that. And if anybody else has questions, I'm answering. So Dwayne, your thoughts on marketing with the car wrap with the logo and a website? I wouldn't do, I like it, Dwayne, but I also know a car wrap is really, really expensive. So what I like to start out with, okay, in terms of the car marketing, which I think is great, especially if you live in a town where, you know, there's a decent amount of people that'll see it. I like window stickers, and I like window stickers on the back of the car with a QR code, and it's scan the QR code and enter to win this thing, right? And a lot of times you're stuck in traffic and they see the piece of art and then they see the QR code and then they scan the QR code. They're like, this is interesting. And then boom, you potentially have a way to get their email address. And if that worked, yeah, then definitely I love wrapping the car. And, you know, wrapping the car will probably make you a better human too, right? Because then you're not going to drive like an a-hole. Probably not going to drink and drive because they'll know conclusively who you are. But I think it's a fantastic way of doing things. Just the wraps are really, really expensive. So that's what I would say, Dwayne. This is a good question. So you have 2 photo books. What's the best way to market them? Photo books are great because they're lower commitment items, and photo books are also great because you can leverage them for giveaways, which I think is awesome. And then photo books are also great because if I bought a piece from you, I want the photo book. Like, I want the photo book, you guys. And, case in point, let's see if I can just show this off right now. Well, you guys this is going to take me 2 seconds to grab this, but I want to show you. Okay, this is pretty cool. Let me show this off. So we have an Art Storefronts customer. He has the same surname as me. His last name is Shanahan. My last name is Shanahan. I call him my cousin, despite the fact we're not actually physically related. So he's like an awesome rock photographer. And let me just show this off because I've got one of his pieces. Van Halen, right? Absolutely crushing it. And then he's got this beautiful photo book too. And how good do these two things look together when I'm holding them up right now and on, like, my zoomed out, like, crazy camera? Like, look at that. Art and books market themselves so fantastically well. You got to just do a good job of showing them off. And I also think, like, photo books are such an epic way to do a giveaway. Don't give away something that's too expensive, i.e. an original piece of art, and do that. So Steve, listen to the podcast and listen to the episode on the loop, and then use your photo books in that capacity, and that'll help you out, like, incredibly, incredibly well. Yeah, repeat, please. Yeah, so everybody knows what a QR code is now. We can, like, apparently in Korea, because I love following all the technology trends. Like in Korea, you know, it's been like standard issue technology. Everyone understands QR codes. They're on ads. They're everywhere. People order food on it. Da 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 da. Whatever. It's taken forever to get to the United States, but COVID ushered it in when we started going to all the restaurants, and it's like, where's the menu? And they're like, it's on the table. Scan the QR code. So if you got two stickers made, and they're not that expensive, you can get them made inexpensively and they come off the window easily. And one is the QR code and one is the actual piece of artwork. And then you say, interested in my art, scan the QR code. And then you have an email sign up box. There's a great way there to, leverage your car going around. As a final though, vandals, by which I mean punks, young kids, will often take one of these because they think they're being funny and color in something on the QR code to break it. So if you have a QR code and you're using QR codes and they're like in the public arena, make sure that you're testing them with your own phone, that it still goes through, because that's what I would say. Yeah, so fluoride photos, if you got a physical studio, that's fantastic. There's no better thing to do than have live broadcasts exactly like I'm having right now in the studio, right? Like, get some of your art on those walls, right? Get some of your photos on those walls and, have a live art show in the studio. I would do that all day long. It's such a fantastic advantage to have. That's what I would say. Yeah, and Genevieve, I love art books. I love them. They represent like a low commitment buy. They end up on people's coffee tables. They end up looking at them, and all it does is they work both ways, which is amazing. They work in the sense that it's like a low photo books or art books are a low. I'll be able to show and tell. I love my cousin. What my cousin does on this, not my cousin again, but I call him my cousin. It's like because he's a rock photographer, right? And like the graphics on the inside are all his like backstage passes over the years, which is totally awesome. It's really hard to show. You even signed it for me. What's up, cousin? But he's got so many like amazing photos, right? And it's like such an incredible way to expose his photography. I got to get like some sort of like table camera so I can show stuff off. So it works both ways. One, a lot of people like your art. They're not ready to buy your art or not ready to make that commitment. They buy the book, then they look at the art and they're like, damn it, I want that. I want the art. Then they work in the other direction, which means when you have the art on the wall, you're like, Kai, I love this. Why wouldn't I want it in the photo book too? And so it drives sales both ways, right? Which I think is really, really awesome, really important. Okay. So any ideas on how to find your signature style? Yeah, don't worry about it in the slightest. Just keep creating. Keep creating. Like you don't get to choose what your signature style is. Your audience does, right? Your audience does, and your audience will, based on what they purchase. And early on, like you don't need to know. You don't have to have it dead to rights. You just have to be practicing and creating and trying to get your work in front of enough eyeballs to find out whether or not you have the niche or you don't have the niche, right? Which I think is the critical important thing. So that's what I would be saying on the niche. Okay. Ideas on international shipping fees. Yeah. Okay. This is a really important question too. Like, do not worry about international shipping fees until you get the international order. So leave me another comment. Do you have an international order right now where you're worried about international shipping fees? I have talked to so many artists that is spent, I'm talking like a lot of time trying to figure out international shipping. And I'm like, do you have any international orders? And they're like, well, no, but I got to be ready. No, you don't. You don't need to be ready. Get the order, then go figure out the shipping. Like it's so easy. The only difficult thing to do in this business is make the sale. Everything else is easy in comparison, and your energy will be up. So don't worry about global shipping in the slightest. You can figure it out like easily. DHL ships just about everywhere internationally in the world, right? And oftentimes, like they live in different countries, and so each individual time it's going to be up to them to what they want to do. But everyone knows that they have to go through the rigmarole of that after the fact. And it's like, look, as long as you get the sale, they're not going to cancel based on the shipping. Just get the international order, worry about everything else later. And like, look, they're going to be onesie twosies. If you get to like 10 or 20 or 30, well, then maybe you need to figure out a printer in England, or maybe you need to figure out a printer in Australia, or maybe you went viral in New Zealand because you're painting Frodo in the Hobbit houses and it's just taking off, right? Like, okay, well then you can get someone in that country, but don't worry about it. It's like the analogy of like, don't open the bank account until you have a check made out, right? Like, you don't need to worry about it right now. It's not a problem until you have that check in hand. And by the way, do you know how many times I've just completely broken that rule like an idiot in my days? Plenty. You know. Okay. What is this question? So, is there a podcast on how to put a photo book, put out a photo book? Do you show the cover just like an individual photograph? Yeah, it doesn't matter. As long as your photos are in it, it's got something on the cover, you're doing just fine. Just create one and don't overthink it. Yeah. All right. So Santos, yes. So you do have international orders, and I'm not able to give visibility to the buyer on the price. What ends up is a customer needs to do 2 transactions. So this is okay. So this is a much better question, right? And I love this question. And one, okay. And I don't want any of you guys screwing this up. Okay. Can we all make a collective bargaining agreement with one another? And that has like a union tint to it. I don't care about that. Art in photography has not been Amazonified. Okay. What do I mean by Amazonified? The expectation is not that art in photography ships for free. No one has that expectation right now. Everyone knows that if I buy art or photography, I'm going to have to pay for shipping. We do not ever want to change that, ever under any circumstances. Okay. That's number one. Number two, he's saying he is getting the international orders, and then he has to figure out the shipping after the fact. Yeah, you do. And it should be 2 transactions, because the shipping will never interfere with the sale itself. Once you have the sale done, the way that it works in the real world is like that money's gone. They know they purchased that thing. That money's gone. Okay, great. That's done. Next, it's like the shipping. In Santos, then go figure out how to ship it to them. Then you let them know what it costs and you shut up. If they complain, if they push back, you can say, you know what? This sale matters to me more than eating it on the shipping, and you give them free shipping. Or you say, I'll split the shipping with you. Like, whatever it takes. I would handle it on like a case-by-case basis, right? And again, this should be onesie, twosie for you, right? Unless it's all to the same country. If it's all to the same country, then you have a different problem to figure out, right? Like if you're selling like crazy in Europe, then you need to go get a European printer, right? And either in Germany or in Holland or in the UK. That most people do this in Holland for some reason. I can't remember. There's like some sort of tax advantage. Anyway, that's the concept, right? But don't stress about it. Like, no one is expecting that to ship for free. Yes, you have to do the second negotiation, but these are first world problems, Santos. First world problems, right? But I love keeping shipping like a hostage. It's like a negotiating chip in a hostage negotiation. That's what I mean, right? Like, so let's say Santos bought an original from me and it was $1,000. Okay, great. Tell you what, Santos, thank you so much for your order. I've been paid. This is wonderful. I'm going to go find out what your shipping cost is, and I'll get right back to you with that quote. I go get the quote, right? And the quote's $250. And so I tell him, shipping on this is going to be $250 based on where you are. And then you shut up. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. And see what they say. Because a lot of times they'll just be like, okay, great. Let me know and ship it to me. In which case, boom, done, you're fine. If you get some pushback, if you get some irritation and they're like, man, that's really expensive, I was not hoping for that, say, you know what? What if I ate it? What if I ate half of it? You want to split it 50-50? Does that make it easy for you? And they can be like, well, I appreciate that. That's great. But I mean, my budget was at 1,000. At that point in time, Santos, then you get to make a decision. Okay. Is this sale worth me eating the $250 in shipping? And in most cases, it will be, and you just eat it, and you do it by case basis. The beautiful thing about pricing, why we advise our customers to mark up their work while they do, is because when you have a 250% markup or higher, you always have this ability to come down on certain things, i.e. the free shipping, i.e. eating the tax. And it's, it might take 5 to 10% off your margin, but it's not, you have a 250% margin. It's not going to eat too much into your pocket, right? Which is just a huge way to going about it. So that's how I like to approach that. That's how I like to contemplate that. But those are great questions. Just know the hardest thing to do is get the sale. The easy thing to do is everything else, right? So don't stress about that. If you guys are joining late, I'm just open session, answering questions. It could be anything about anything. You can be a customer, not a customer. All you have to do is throw it as a comment into the chat, and I will answer it. It's really fun doing these new, Instagram lives. And while you guys are coming up with questions, like one of the things that I did recently is I realized like it's really, really easy to do video files. So one of the things like I did just a few days ago is I'm going to start doing like reaction videos and like breakdown videos
all the time that Instagram simply has
This is the guy that's the head of Instagram, and I just recently did like a reaction video where I talked all about his photos, and I can like show this off perfectly on Instagram, which was never the case before, you know, which is really, really hard, really, really cool. So I'm going to be doing more and more and more of these, you know, oftentimes where I'm breaking down your guys' marketing and what it looks like and how it can improve. So, okay. So Genevieve says, I am an SA, have customers in Australia, found an amazing print delivery service. Yeah, which is awesome. Like anytime that you're shipping that far and oh, you're an SA. So I'm going to guess SA stands for South Africa. But even Australia being that tiny island off the coast of South Africa, I heard somebody say that once, tiny island. Australia's huge. It's still quite far. Australia's far from everything. So it still probably makes a ton of sense if you're getting decent orders, Genevieve, from Australia to get a printer in Australia, as it would if you're getting decent orders in New Zealand to get a printer in New Zealand, because, you know, it's just a way better experience, you know, to not have to do that long shipping haul. So that's what I would say. All right. Good session. I really enjoyed that today. And what's up, Roy? Bournemouth doing good. Tyler Adams hopefully coming back. When can I, as a self-fulfilling client, get the product videos showing what each one actually looks like? I don't know if I fully understand that. Total technical question. You know I'm worthless on the ASF technical questions. The product video showing what each one actually looks like. ETB. I don't know. You're gonna have to send me an email, Roy, because I don't totally get that. And I can find out who can answer it. Something about product videos. Yeah, I just don't know. But all right, guys, I'm going to leave it there because my voice is getting hoarse. I appreciate all of you. I hope you learned something. I hope you got some value out of it. Anytime I'm live, anytime Nick's live, anytime anyone on my team is live, you can ask any question about anything. Our goal is try to help as many of you folks as possible get your art business up, running, ready, humming, and making sales. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you on a live broadcast again here soon. And you should all be doing them too. You should all be doing them yourselves. Okay. And I'll teach you. We have a really good guide. We'll talk about that later.